Hi guys, Ray here, City Fan TV. Hope you're all doing very well. Doing a live stream tonight. I don't think we've done a little live stream for a little while. Been doing a lot of videos on transfer stuff. A lot of stuff out there. Guardiola, Laporte, Gundogan, Bernardo Silva. Obviously, people coming in. So there's been Kovacic and other rumours and stuff. Players going out, players coming in. And in a minute or two, hopefully, we'll get a fella from West Ham. I think it's West Ham Central. I think he. Let's get it right. Let's get it right. I'll get in trouble for getting it wrong. West Ham Network. That's it. We've got Anton coming from the. Oh, what's happened to with this fella? He's having a problem. West Ham Network. I don't know why he wants this. Right. So anyway, I'm going to have to send him a link. West Ham Network at Gmail. I'll send him a link so that he will come on and talk about Declan Rice before. Declan Rice is going somewhere. I wonder where he's going. Obviously, we'll talk about deals that seem to be either on the table. We know Arsenal's deal. That's definitely on the table. And look at the deals that City might be putting together for this. Let's just quickly hope this fella can make it. Just sent him the message. So fingers crossed he will join us any minute. Hey, guys, if you are new to the channel, please subscribe. We've done pretty well, actually. Amazing what happens when you put a load of videos out. People see them a little bit more regularly, and people seem to enjoy. Enough people enjoy them to want us to keep doing more, and especially when Bernard's around and Mike and everybody likes a little bit of banter. So yeah, just as we wait for Anton, what else is going on? We're going to talk about Declan Rice, obviously, whether he's going to go to Arsenal or Manchester City. That's going to be the aim of this video. But we're also going to look at. I'm not looking at anything else. I'm just going to talk. I'm just filling in, guys. I'm just trying to. Fill in whilst we wait for Anton. So looks like Kovacic is over the line, 25 million plus 5 million in add-ons. Obviously, Ilkay Gundogan's gone. Lots of rumours about Bernardo Silva going. This talk of going to Saudi Arabia, and I'm not so sure. I think the Saudi Arabia thing can easily be to flush out whoever's interested in him to put up the money. It could be who knows? Who knows? It probably is. They probably would be interested in getting someone like Bernardo Silva, and there'd probably be a decent transfer fee to get him and decent wedge to him. But he's 28 years old. I mean, the point that some pundits and ex-players are making is, why would you go like Ruben Neves? Was it 26 and he's gone for the money? Why not? Why ever not? Yeah. Footballers only last a certain amount of time. Now, they were saying, well, why don't you go at the end of your career? Well, who's to say that in a year, the next game he plays, he doesn't get an injury that he never recovers from? Who knows what's going to happen in the future? So these deals for some of these players to go to Saudi Arabia, it will set them up for life and their families and their descendants probably for decades to come. It will set them up. Karim Benzema allegedly on, or reportedly on 200 million euros or 200 million quid a season for 2 seasons. That's bonkers money. Other players on, I can't remember what we're talking about now, 40 million a season. Wow. 40 million a season. So it's absolutely crazy. I'm just going to get Anton in a second. Just go through a couple of things. Ipswich, hi, buddy. I don't know where you're from. It's always nice to say hello in whatever language I can. Declan Rice remains keen to join Arsenal despite City. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, if City now flops this deal, especially after Jude Bellingham, yeah, let's get Anton in. Let's get Anton. Anton, how you doing, mate?
How you doing, mate? You okay? You well?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm very, very good. You must be buzzing. Still buzzing from that Europa Conference League final.
Mate, it's huge. It's huge for West Ham. Absolutely buzzing. Every time I think about it, I get goosebumps. And let me kind of put it into context, because obviously, the clubs, West Ham and Man City, there's a similarity about the history of the clubs, like in terms of the past. You've gone through relegations and gone through the dark ages and the dark times, and we've certainly done that in an abundance. And then I know since the kind of takeover and now the trajectory that Man City are on, and now you're on this crazy heights, and it's there's, I'm not going to lie to you, the jealousy is huge between any other team, and you're living dreams that many fans never get a chance to do. And I'm part of that West Ham fan base that never ever had a chance to win anything in my lifetime. I'm 40 this year, and I've only ever seen us win playoff finals. So to win a reputable European trophy, no matter what anybody says, it's a reputable European trophy. It's not a Diddy Cup. And I'll be honest with you, last year at the start of the campaign, before West Ham's campaign, the first year of the Europa Conference League, I did think it was a bit of a Diddy Cup until it got to the quarterfinals, and I saw Roma, PSV Eindhoven, Leicester, and all the kind of bigger teams in the mix there. And then the same again happened this year, and you can only beat what's in front of you, mate. So that's what happens. And we've gone and won it. In my lifetime, I've saw West Ham win a bit of silverware. And this year, the only two clubs to win a bit of silverware have been West Ham and Man City.
European silverware. I've got to ask you this then, Anton. It's just, serious question. Did you, as West Ham, winning that Europa Conference League, have a better season than Man United and Arsenal? Just say yes. I'm happy with that.
I'm trying my best to not do it with rose tinted glasses on, but because at the start of the season, if you ask any West Ham fan, and probably most Manchester United fans, and probably most Arsenal fans, winning something was key. Winning something is key. Winning a trophy is key. We had such a shit season in the Premier League. We turned it around near the end of the season. But winning that competition is huge. It's funny, would I swap winning that Europa Conference League for qualifying for the Champions League? In brutal honesty, absolutely not. Absolutely not. No word of a lie, because I can't. And you can. We share something, because we can share in the euphoria of winning a trophy. Arsenal and Manchester United haven't done that recently. So we've got the more recent feel. I'm getting it again. I'm getting the goosebumps again, even talking about it to you right now. So it's a euphoria feeling that I'll never get taken away from me or West Ham fans. So I would say
sorry, mate. There's a line in, I think it's in Kes. Is it Kes? Where you're probably a bit young for Kes, but it's on the fella's on driving the milk float, the electric milk float back in the day. And the kid didn't want to ride. And I think the fella basically says third class riding is better than first class walking. And that's how I'd look at that Europa Conference League. That a European trophy, that people might say that's third class, the third class European trophy, but it's better than the League Cup that United won, in my opinion.
Well, do you know what? I think at the end of the day, even at the start of the competition, West Ham fans will go, we played Viborg to qualify for the competition, and I would never have known who Viborg were until we played them. But then equally though, you can go to every single competition. You can look at the Champions League, and you could question the fact that fourth place can qualify for the Champions League. That still pisses me off. I don't necessarily watch a lot of the Champions League at the start in particular, because I do think it's a little bit, it's like the Euros and the World Cup now. They're making it an easy entry for as many teams as possible to qualify, and I don't like it that way. The Champions League for me should be the champions of competitions, and people might not agree with me in that way, but that's just the way it is. So absolutely, winning European competition. Listen, our coefficient score has been non-existent for the last 20 years. And suddenly we've gone into the Europa League as top seed. We've gone into the Europa League as number one seed. So we cannot take anything away from that. What that does is that if you look at Roma's trajectory, they won the Conference League. They qualified for the Europa League through winning the Conference League. They got to the final of the Europa League. They got to within 90 minutes of qualifying for the Champions League through winning the Europa League. So it's nothing to be ashamed about at all. And I'm not. And I'll be ramming it home. No. Absolutely ramming it home.
I'm just going to. I think it's so much more romantic to win against these European teams than to win against some cannon fodder low league teams in the League Cup. I'm just going to go through. I think these are your knockout games. So you had Larnaca.
You had
Larnaca, Okay, you played against Ghent as well.
Ghent, yeah, Belgium.
Is it Alkmaar in the semi-finals?
Yeah.
Fiorentina. These are your knockout games. Now, you know, as I said, I'll use the word again. It's romantic. To go to if you either went to these places or saw on the telly your club winning these games or going to these places, it would have been fantastic.
Yeah, but something else I've got to say is, nobody could get a ticket for love nor money for any of the games. They were like gold dust for every single one of our games. Our fan base are ridiculous travelers, ridiculous home efforts. We've got a core, and they just go relentlessly. I live in Scotland. I'm a season ticket holder. I go. It's the best feeling ever to do it. But listen, I'll also, I will have to put a bit of respect on anyone winning any cup, because I tell you what, I'd give anyone anything to win the League Cup next year, give anyone anything to win the FA Cup next year, give anyone anything to win anything, because as a West Ham fan, I've witnessed my dad, watch West Ham and win 3 cups, 3 FA Cups and a European Cup Winners' Cup. I've now joined him in that illustrious thing of saying I've seen West Ham win 1 cup, and I'd like to see West Ham win a lot more. So it's a starting point, and we can move and progress and see where it takes us from there onwards.
Yeah. So it's great. West Ham having a good end to the season, winning that Europa Conference League. And obviously, we hate to talk about Declan Rice. Now he's been with you for quite a while, and he's finally won something. Do you think? Well, I'll ask about his attributes in a second. But do you think it feels like he's going to go? Do you think it's the right time now that he's won something major with West Ham?
It's a really tough one to answer as a West Ham fan, because the Declan Rice is different breed. Declan Rice is your traditional player. Like, it's not very rare to get a 24-year-old who acts and handles himself the way he does. He is true to his word, and equally though, we don't really know what to believe. Even and I'm going to go as far as even saying, even when our owner speaks out live on the radio and tells us that we've got a gentleman's agreement, we've got issues with our owners. Our issues go way back with our owners, and we don't really know what they say is true or not. They've got one goal in mind, and that is to make as much money as they possibly can, as most owners probably do, and they've sitting on an asset like Declan Rice. So the rumor was that the agreement last year would be that come the end of the year, we'll potentially let you leave if and only if the money is correct. And that was potentially the agreement. Now, what I can say is that Declan Rice, and I mean this, and I don't know if I'm allowed to swear in the show.
Mild.
He effing loves the club, right? He genuinely loves West Ham. Now, he's not born and bred in the area, but he's grew to love the club. He was released by Chelsea as a youngster, 15, 14, had no club. West Ham brought him in and made him the man who he is. He has an affiliation with Mark Noble. He is best mates with Mark Noble, and he owes his career, because he says it himself, to Mark Noble. I was at the parade when the players came back, and I think Declan Rice and all of the squad could not believe the sheer volume of people that came to the streets. Now, the Met Police spoke out and said there was over 200,000 fans on the streets that night. There was blatantly more. But the catchment area is large anyway, so London is like that, so that's always expected, especially the East End of London. And the stuff he was saying, he was alluding to stuff, he was alluding to this, he was alluding to that. I'll be honest with you, Declan Rice is blatantly torn, right?
Yeah.
If West Ham had qualified for the Champions League, Declan Rice would not leave West Ham.
Yeah, I think so.
If the right club comes in for Declan Rice, he will go. If it's not the right move, he won't go. The only issue, the stumbling block I see happening right now is that he has clearly stated he wants to stay in London.
Yeah.
So that's the only stumbling block. West Ham are not going to knock back £100+ million for Declan Rice. And the only thing that will scupper anything will be negotiations between him and the club themselves. But you are looking at working with Pep. You are looking at becoming the best midfielder in the world if you work under Pep with your current attributes that you've got. So I honestly, Ray, I don't want him. I don't want him to go at all.
Why?
We've created a song. One more year, Declan Rice. One more year. I say, like, we keep singing it, and he sings it, and he encourages the fans to sing it, and he touches. And it's like, but the difference between him touching the badge and other players touching the badge is you can see he's got a genuine care for the club. I just want him to live as a legend for one more year, just to see if he believes in our project. I see right now Declan Rice moving, all bar except Man City. Every other club is a risk.
Yeah.
Because with respect, Man City are looking unbelievable. These do look unbelievable. And out with Manchester City, I don't see any other club that's guaranteed trophies. No club is guaranteed trophies, but you've got a really good shout of getting one of four that you're in each year right now. Arsenal, I could see faltering next year. I really, really can. I think a lot of people can as well. I think it's going to take a lot for them not to. I can see Chelsea bouncing back under Pochettino, so that will put a bit of pressure on Arsenal. I don't see Tottenham anywhere near anything, to be honest. I think that's going to be a total hayward. So for me, it's a bit like, you know what? You're still young enough. You're still the captain. You're still getting everything at England. Do you willing to give it one more year at West Ham? But I know I'm living a pipe dream, and I know that's 5%. But I genuinely think it's 5%. I don't think it's 100% he's going.
This is the thing. I think if he wasn't as good as he is, and if I don't think he'd be moving on. If he was, say, 80% of the player he is, I think he'd stay another season.
Yeah.
I think one of the it sounds weird because he's still only 24. He's still got probably 8 years ahead of him. Probably, if he wanted to, he could probably get another 2 good moves. But maybe he looks across London, into North London, and looks at Harry Kane. Harry Kane had that chance season ago or 2 seasons back where Pep wanted to go, Pep wanted him, and Levy wouldn't, sanction a deal that City were comfortable with. And Harry Kane has stayed another 2 seasons at Spurs. He's won bugger all.
Well, when I look at the Tottenham situation, I look at Harry Kane, and Harry Kane's Tottenham career, Leicester have been relegated, promoted, relegated, won the Premier League and won an FA Cup. Yeah. And in that time, West Ham have won a European Cup. So they've won absolutely nothing. And this is but the other issue you've got there is, you go to Arsenal, and that could happen also. It could actually happen. You could go to Arsenal and you might not win anything, and you have just won something with West Ham. And our last 2 years in Europe have been very, very good. Semi-finals of the Europa League. If it wasn't for a really shit decision from the referee, I genuinely believe we would have gone on to the final, and I think we would have beat Rangers, no problem at all. Not no problem at all, but we would have beat them, and we then could be saying this year, shit, West Ham are in the Champions League.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's I think when it comes to Declan Rice, I'll tell you now, to all you Man City fans, West Ham fans, the best scenario for West Ham, is for Declan Rice not to leave. The second best scenario is for him to go to Man City.
And Phillips to go the other way.
So listen, I like Phillips. I have no questions about what Phillips is. I think he's a quality player, but what you're getting potentially in Declan Rice is excuse my language, phenomenal.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, if you're going to lose Declan Rice, okay, and then this is how I look at it anyway. If I was, I think if I was a West Ham fan, obviously I wouldn't want him to go. But if I was going to lose Declan Rice, and Manchester City said, "Here, you can have an England international."
Yeah,
okay. He's been in the last couple of World Cup Euros and everything else. He's at least in the squad. He's in the best 22 or 24 players in the country. You can have him, and we'll give you 60 million quid as well, or 50 million quid. I'd be seeing that. You think, it's less of a risk like Arsenal looking at potentially Lab instead. These kids are still a risk. You can have one purple season, and then you could disappear again. So,
absolutely. Yeah. And I think when it comes to that, I think West Ham, I don't doubt for a second we would be interested in bringing Calvin Phillips in. What West Ham have never been good at doing, and all big clubs in the world have to learn to do it, all of the big clubs have had to do it, is learn to sell their best players. Yeah. It doesn't matter who you are. At some point, you will lose a best player at some point. So clubs need to learn to move on from that. So if West Ham are going to sell Declan Rice with the asset that we've got, we need to invest better than what we've done in the past. We've been here before. We sold Rio Ferdinand to Leeds United for £18 million. We replaced them with Rigobert Song and Titi Camara, and they were disasters. So at the time, I would rather have had Rio Ferdinand in the team, because that would have progressed us rather than drop us back by losing the best player. The thing is, I look at West Ham's squad. I think oh my God, I'd want him to stay more than anything. But I think we can move on from Declan Rice because I think every club has to move on. It's just what we invest in properly. So I think we need two. And this is a ridiculous statement. People probably who are watching right now are going to. We need two replacements for Declan Rice, not just one. Two to cover our backs.
One is a risk. That's why if it was me, I'd be looking at Calvin Phillips as part of a deal and get another kid with promise and still have about 30 million quid left over to buy in other areas. But I'm going to go on to Arsenal a little bit here. Now, one of the Abhishek in the comments has said one of my questions, Arsenal lowballed, and this has been an issue with Arsenal. They're trying to obviously not spend too much money. West Ham have got a figure they want, and it starts with a 1. They want 100 million quid. Now, whether that's 100 million quid with a little bit of add-ons, Arsenal don't want to go there. Obviously, Arsenal want to save as much money as possible. Now, I'm a naughty City fan. I'd say even if we're not interested, we should, intimate that we're willing to pay 120 million quid. So Arsenal have to pay that. And if Arsenal have to pay 30 or 40 million quid more than they want, that means they can't strengthen other areas. I'm sorry, I'm a bully. When we're on top of, it's like Bayern Munich. You're top of the table. You don't want anybody to get to challenge you.
That mantelpiece, yeah.
So, but what do you make of that first Arsenal offer? What was it, 65 or 70 million quid?
It was apparently it was even lower than 70 odd million that we anticipated, so which is ridiculous. So, we spoke out and said that it's either 100 million plus a player or 120 million to a Champions League club. They've came in 65 million, something like that, with 15 million add-ons, and apparently the add-ons were ridiculous. Apparently there was something like you've got to win the Champions League. And then you've got to do something else. And there's a viral video gone around saying crazy stuff about, it's quite funny actually to watch, like, Declan Rice got to score 100 goals in 10 games or something like that. It's ridiculous stuff. And then they come back in with a second bid and it's like 75 plus 15 for the second bid. And it's like, what are you doing? Like, if you really want to stand a chance of getting the player that you think you're going to build your team around, don't lowball. But what I will say is West Ham are the king of lowballs. Like, we lowball every team we do. Our transfer policy is so crap, it's ridiculous. So we buy players for 40 million and sell them for 20 the next year. Like, that's typically what West Ham do. But we also tried to sign a player years ago, William Carvalho from Sporting Lisbon. What a quality player. Went on to be Portuguese international. Very, very good player. And we lowballed the director with a crap amount of money, and the director released the email that he got sent from the West Ham owner, and we became viral for being the lowballers, the king of lowballers. But one of the guys that runs the channel with me, he said that we are the king of lowballers, so we should expect it back. I went back as the counter argument and said, but you're not talking about any player. You're talking about the West Ham captain who's just won a European trophy, who is tipped to be and will be, mark my words, the next England captain past Harry Kane when Harry Kane moves on. And that's what you're talking about. And when you're getting nearly every single West Ham fan, including my dad of an era who watched the best players in the world, Bobby Moore included, when you watch the ability, what Declan Rice has got, he's the only comparable player in the modern game you can even remotely consider to be close to the style of play. And Bobby Moore is a centre-half. Now, Declan Rice is originally a centre-half, but what he does in that midfield is that level of reading of the game. You don't need goals. You do need goals. You don't need goals from Declan Rice. Because what Declan Rice will allow Manchester City to do, or Arsenal and or West Ham, is move forward and score more goals. As simple as that.
He's got a few goals in the league.
He has. And it kind of looks like he talks about two players in his whole lifetime that he really looks up to. Yaya Toure, who you all know, and Steven Gerrard. That's the two players that he kind of talks about. But he was never a natural-born central midfielder. He was a natural-born centre-half. So he thinks defensively than he will think progressively, but he does progress. But his defensive ability is so impactful for, I hate saying it, a club like West Ham, that God, if he was playing around other players like Rodri, like the creativity flair that you've got in your team, they must, he would take all the hard work away from everyone else and allow them to flourish even more. Like he's.
Well, it's an important. Here's an important question: if he is going to come to City, do you see him as a replacement for Rodri, or play as a second fiddle, or cover for him initially, or do you see him playing alongside Rodri?
I don't think Declan Rice goes and doesn't start. To be honest with you, I think that would be a massive detriment to his career.
Yeah.
We were talking about this in our group chat today, and one of the guys was saying he has to play alongside Rodri. He has to play alongside Rodri. It depends on what Pep wants to do with him, though. Pep might look at Declan Rice and go, let's bring the Steven Gerrard out in you. Let's push you forward. He is absolutely more than capable of driving forward at teams, and he's done it against the big teams. So it's not that he's not done it. He's done it in the Premier League. He can drive forward and he can score goals. He scored against Arsenal. He scored against Man City. He scored before. So he doesn't score 10 goals a season, but he can definitely contribute with 4 or 5 from West Ham's midfield, who plays under a defensive-minded manager, i.e. David Moyes. So if you are a Pep Guardiola who does the style of play he does, then you're probably going to bring out this dynamic Steven Gerrard, Toure type midfielder. And Declan Rice, the way he carries the ball, we watch him week in and week out. And I can go as far as saying he's probably the best player. He's definitely up there that I've ever saw at Claret Booth in person.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, one thing about Pep is we've seen how he likes flexible, versatile players.
Yeah.
And some players, he makes them flexible and versatile. John Stones, centre back. Well, he's played right back. He's played alongside Rodri in midfield, so he's moving him around. We've seen John Stones do box to box. We've seen John Stones was in the Champions League final. He had the most successful dribbles out of anybody. It's crazy. We see John Stones really showing skill, turning players and leaving them for dead, fooling them. He's got skills that none of us have seen, and he's done this late in his career. And you look at Declan Rice, you say, well, he's got that defensive mindset. He's played centre back. He's played like a DM. Do you think he can play anywhere else? Can he do that, like you suggested? Can he do the box to box?
Well, he is. I mean, he is box to box. He's everything in that central part of midfield and central defence area, and gets forward as well. The other thing you're getting is a captain, a leader. Like, there's no ifs or buts about it. Like, I can't think of. I honestly can't. I look around all the other teams and I don't see anyone who can hold themselves in the way that he does as a leader. I hear all the ex-pros, even England people speaking out and going, he's so influential in the changing room. Do you ever remember, you've watched all these programs, All or Nothing, and I know sometimes they're all highlighted. You see Harry Kane doing his captain talk and you're thinking, holy shit, man, what's he actually, that's not motivating me. Like, but then when you listen to Declan Rice, like I hate the fact that I'm even sitting here talking like this, because honestly, it's so painful thinking about Declan Rice playing for any other club. But if he is going to play for another club, it's going to be Man City. Like, I don't think Pep's coming in here to absolutely. I know Pep's probably got this element of you earn your position. Don't deny that whatsoever. I don't think you're going to have a problem with Declan Rice earning his position.
Yeah.
I actually don't have any doubts in my mind that whatever club Declan Rice goes to, within the next 2 years, he pushes for captaincy, because he is a captain. We had issues when he moved into captaincy at the start of the season because he was so young. But he has taken it to a duck to water. And you must see the interviews that he does, the way he conducts himself, the way he's handled himself over this transfer saga. Like, you don't get many people at the age of 23, 24 who's played in a Euro, for England, the finals, getting beat by Italy. You know what? Here's a valid point. He got pulled off by Gareth Southgate, and we went on to lose the game. Now, I'm not saying it's just down to one player, but it was probably one of the most ridiculous decisions I've ever saw by Gareth Southgate, because he was one of the best players on the park.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous decision to make. So you are talking about, it's tough because we're West Ham and you're Man City. That's what it comes down to. So it's tough because it's like I said to someone today, I feel like sometimes I have to sell Declan Rice And it should be the opposite way. I should be convincing people he's shit because I don't want you to sign him. But there's literally no ifs and buts about it. There's a reason why people are. Here's the example. There's a reason why Man City are willing to pay £100 million for a player that doesn't score a lot of goals. There's a reason.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think you said there's reasons why you can see why I can see why he could go to Arsenal. Obviously the London thing. They're Arsenal a young side coming through, and he'll start, no question about that. Obviously you're a big Declan Rice fan, and you expect him to start at City. But I mean, look at someone like Jack Grealish. When Jack Grealish came from Villa, he was the top dog, and when he came to City, there were so many dogs in front of him. And
I've had this comparison. Sorry to interrupt you there, Ray, but I've had this comparison before. I think the difference between Jack Grealish and Declan Rice is there is a humongous difference, because you've got someone who is you know what, like a lot of people don't like Jack Grealish.
Yeah.
So the one thing I've never liked about his game is that he does hit the ground a lot. But equally, I understand that he also does get fouled a lot. And so he does get fouled a lot, but then he gets judged by the times that he makes it look.
Yeah, he goes down very easily.
Very easily, yeah. So that what lets him down. And then his ego and his history, his personal life has been a bit manic when he was at Aston Villa and stuff like that. There's a big difference between a player like Jack Grealish, who I think needs to be brought down a couple of notches, and Declan Rice that doesn't need to be brought down a couple of notches. You're talking about probably one of the most humble men in football. Night. I'm saying night to the kids, sorry. So, yeah, I genuinely... there's a very famous West Ham former coach called Tony Carr. He found the England generation of Rio Ferdinand, Frank Lampard, Joe Cole, Michael Carrick, Glenn Johnson, Jermaine Defoe, just to name a little handful of players that this one coach at West Ham brought through the ranks. He's been on our channel several times, and one of the things he said is, from his advice and from what he saw, the most humblest of players he's ever came across is Declan Rice, and that's going to take him from there to the moon.
I think Declan Rice, if he comes to City, he'll shine, but I'm not sure he's going to be shining straight away. You might be right, I might be wrong.
Yeah.
But it's a 50-50. There's so many players who come to City. The first season, Mahrez had it, Grealish had it, others have had it. And there are a few that hit the ground running. Now, that's why I say it's 50-50. We may think he's good enough, but he might not hit the ground running straight away. But I think he'll get there.
And I think, because I get that. It's even look at West Ham. Like, we signed Paqueta. He didn't hit the ground running. He's a flair, flamboyant, dynamic, athletic midfielder, Brazilian midfielder. And we're expecting huge things, and it doesn't happen. And then suddenly, tail end of the season, he kicks in, and we're like, "Holy shit, man! This player's amazing." But I think you've named the players there. You're talking about spend a lot of money on a creative player. You don't really hear these days of teams spending that amount of money on a non-creative player. And I think I genuinely put it back to that. I think there's a reason why you're literally paying borderline the same money for Declan Rice than you are for Jack Grealish. Jack Grealish gets you, on paper, you're expecting 10, 15, 20 goal contributions in a season. Yeah. But Declan Rice, you're not. But he indirectly involves goals because of everything else he does. So that's what makes, I think, the situation with Declan Rice a little bit different. I don't think he just simply walks into Man City and expects to start. I think what happens is if he goes to Man City in training, he'll be your top trainer. I think he'll lead by example, and I think Pep will put him in the start, and it will be Declan Rice's position to lose. Now, if you look at the history of West Ham and the history of Man City, you sign Haaland, you have him over the pre-season, you put him into the game, first game of the season against West Ham, he scores a brace. West Ham had Scamacca, didn't even start him. And you threw him in, and straight away, off the cuff, Haaland's got 2 goals in his first game, and bang, he's in Premier League. Welcome to the Premier League. It took our main striker 7 games to get his first goal because he hardly started. So I think there's kind of pros and cons. I think Pep can do it. I think he might if we do get him. I get why the fans, because of the history of what happens. I'm not saying he expects to walk in. I'm not saying he should walk in to the start. But I think when you pay the fee that you're looking at for a player who plays in the position he plays in, I think there's a reason. I think Pep sees the special because he is.
Yeah. Well, I think what is probably going to help him if he comes to City is the fact that Gundogan's gone.
Yeah.
There's lots of talk of Bernardo going. And if Phillips goes the other way, we've lost 3 midfielders. Yep. All we've got is Kovacic. So if Declan Rice does come, and he slots in, I think Foden will move to an attacking midfielder role with KDB, but they're not going to play all the time. Kovacic will be around, and I think Declan Rice. Those 4 with Rodri, that's your midfield. So you end up picking 3 out of those 5 players, I think, and I think he'll get plenty of games. It's one of those. If he comes, it's wait and see. But
another good thing to look at as well, and I think Pep would have looked at it, is the fact that West Ham have had 2 European campaigns over the last 2 years. I think Declan Rice in the last 2 years has missed 2 games. 2 games in total. So his fitness, he maintains his levels out with football, out with somebody comes back at the top level. He is that top level footballer. Like, he's a manager's coach's dream.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm just looking at his last 2 seasons. He played 50 games each season.
Yeah.
Now,
so a manager would look at that and go, okay, we've got, wow, like, if we do need to throw him in, we've got one other player at West Ham who does that, and it's Jared Bowen.
Yeah.
The 2 of them are capable of playing, and Moyes has spoke out about it before. He said, us as West Ham fans go, "Oh, rest Bowen," and then Moyes says in the press conference, "I can't rest Bowen. Yeah. I can't."
No one else.
Because his body's designed to do it. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, I mean, I look at Rodri. Obviously, City play more games. Rodri played 56 games, so it's not much. It's not much more. But as I said, the fact City play usually at least 60 games a season.
Yeah,
there's plenty of games to go around. Plenty of games. Even then, Phillips couldn't get in. Phillips was a bit of a disappointment for City. I mean, I'm just looking at my questions. Last question I think I'm going to ask. As a football fan, as a West Ham fan, where do you want to see him go? Where do you think? Where will hurt you? Well, I think I know the answer to the first part. I'm going to say, where will hurt you the least for him going, and where do you think he deserves to go for purely football reasons and winning stuff consistently? Close question, not really.
Everyone knows number 1, which is stay at West Ham. That's not going to happen.
Yes.
Number 2 is go to Bayern Munich, because then he's away from the Premier League and it won't hurt us as much. If it's England, it's Man City and Man City only. That's the only club West Ham fans can deal with.
Yeah.
Genuinely believe that when I say that. It's the only club we can deal with. Because it's kind of like, you're there, we're here, but we still feel like Arsenal aren't there.
Yeah.
And therefore,
and they're very local, Arsenal, aren't they? Really?
Yeah, well, we finished above them a couple of years ago, so I feel like we could still, like, if I don't know, I'm exaggerating slightly in that part, but over the last couple of weeks, the way that Arsenal have conducted themselves, I've lost a lot of respect for them. I've lost a lot of respect for some of the fans that have tuned into our channel, from the sheer ego that they've gained. Yeah. And I feel like then some of them turn around and say, we've got an ego because we've won the cup. Well, hold on a second. If you win the cup, would you want us to just be quiet? No fucking way. Like, I'm going to scream for this. Do you know what I mean? So, and it's not our fault that you've not won a cup for a while, So, like, we're going to live in this moment. And so, yeah, for me, the best situation, and everyone in my chat is the same. Everyone on our channel is the same. The only club we want him to go to is Man City. And yeah, like you said, the best thing to happen to a club like West Ham is to get as much money as we can. And I know that means you need to put your hand in your pocket and spend a shed load of money, but you're capable of doing that. And we're not capable of doing that. So that money, I just want this to happen quickly.
Yeah.
Because a drawn out thing makes it worse. And if it happens quickly, West Ham can move on and we can then move at the targets we're after, because there are targets that can really progress West Ham that we need to do.
I can see this getting up over 100 million pounds because obviously Arsenal City are involved. They'll, I think, keep pushing each other a little bit, and I think I can see creeping over 100 million pounds guaranteed. City have the cash. I don't think there's going to be a problem about that, affording it for FFP purposes, simply because we're going to lose a lot of players, I think, this summer. If Bernardo goes, if he goes to PSG or Saudi Arabia, we'll be asking for 80, 100 million quid. Gundogan's gone. If Mahrez goes, if he goes to Saudi, I don't know what that's going to be, but let's say 30 or 40 million quid. Laporte might be off because he hardly features. We sell a couple of others. We'll have a war chest of 200 million quid. It doesn't actually work like that, but we'll have a lot of money. And FFP is not going to be an issue for probably a couple of seasons. We'll have got a lot of wages off the books as well.
That's one of our now new concerns is we've been put on the watch list of the FFP. So in theory, by default, Declan Rice becomes our biggest asset. Therefore, that can really change things. But we definitely, for us selfishly, we need this to happen soon because we need to move on from this saga. But I just wish, we've won a cup. I want them to enjoy it with the West Ham fans. It's not going to happen. So Man City's got to be the option. We've got to get as much money as we possibly can for them.
Get as much money, get it quick, get your transfers in, sorted out. Whatever issues are with FFP, to be honest, selling Declan Rice will resolve that. It'll give you, without going into too much stuff, it'll give you that. If it's 100 million quid, it's 100 million profit in the accounts straight away.
And I think what makes it even tougher for like me, for example, would be I've got 3 young kids, and my eldest of the 3 is 7, Freddie, and he's a massive West Ham fan, and he adores Declan Rice, and I'm getting taken back to when I was in a youngster, and you would be the same when you watch Man City and you see your best players leave because you've been there, you've done that, you've worn a t-shirt, and now you're the powerful team who take players from other teams, and we still haven't had that. So Freddie's about to relive the emotions that I've had of losing your best players. He said to me today, he said, Dad, this is literally what my 7-year-old said to me today. He said, if Declan Rice leaves West Ham, I'll always like Declan Rice.
That's good. It's good.
And I was like, good.
He'll be asking for a half and half shirt, a half West Ham.
Well, not really, but there is a. I don't know if you've seen it. There's actually quite a funny social Twitter account, and it's called what's it like? It's like Winchester City United or something like that. It's about this kind of gentleman's agreement between West Ham being north-south of the border and Man City being north of the border and having a bit of a kind of cool dynamic relationship. But the other cool thing to look at is the fact that Man City's youth won the under-18s North League, and then won, and West Ham's team won the under-18s South League. We then won the FA Cup, and then we went into the National Cup against Man City and got beat by Man City. So you won 2 titles, we won 2 titles in the under-18s. So the future's bright for both academies, which is a nice thing as well.
I think one other good thing, I think it's more so at City than Arsenal. I'm trying to think how many England players Arsenal have got. City got they had John Stones, Kyle Walker, Calvin Phillips, Grealish, and Foden. So they had 5 players in England. Obviously, if Declan Rice comes, he's got some mates around him. And I actually think that's very good for England as well. For obviously, if Calvin Phillips goes to do it, there'll still be 5 players, English players, then at City, who will drive England forward. And I think Declan Rice working under Pep will take him to new levels, and I think it'll help take England to new levels because, with all the will in the world and all the good grace in the world, David Moyes isn't a tactical genius, I don't think.
No.
Neither is Gareth Southgate. But I think Pep can bring more out of Declan, and that will be good for City, good for Declan, good for England.
Yeah.
Winners all round.
Listen, Declan Rice now is a West Ham legend. Like, and this is the thing that gets to me as well. Like, if he goes to Man City and he wins everything at Man City, there's a strong possibility there'll still be a statue of Declan Rice outside West Ham.
Yeah.
But there's also a strong possibility there'll be a fucking statue outside Man City.
Well, the thing is,
if he goes on and wins everything, that is.
I don't think there will be. But I think we were chatting with some mates today about Gundogan. Now,
Yeah.
Gundogan has been at City 7 years. He won the Champions League. He's won 5 league titles, 4 League Cups, 2 FA Cups, 2 Community Shield. And we were chatting with each other, will there be a statue for him? And he said, no, he's not done enough. It sounds crazy. Yeah. The statues that we've got, what we've done recently is, I think it's all the guys who did 9 or 10 years, which is Aguero, Company.
Which you've got potential with Deckers for.
He's got to get to about 30.
Although, I will be honest with you though. If Deckers does come to Man City, you made the point earlier on, if Deckers goes to Man City, I can't see him moving. I don't think Deckers would be at Man City for 10 years. I think that's down to the fact that Deckers would want to probably come back to London or at that point in his life may look at abroad. And I don't think that's because he thinks he can be better than Man City. I think that's because he would be, there's a Jude Bellingham-ish about him. You know what I mean?
I could see him doing something like Gundogan's done.
Yeah.
You've had 5 to 7 years of tremendous success, and then you start a new chapter. There are some who will just do that 9 or 10 years. But if he, but it's one of these things. He's tasted success, and you know, if with all due respect, it's unlikely West Ham are going to be tasting success in the near future. Again, we're be honest. Hey, look, honestly, you know, when we went through all those years of not winning anything, you know, now I savor everything because I've been through all those barren years of, you know, when I used to live in London, traipse around London and watch City get beat every time. I think I saw one season we lost. I think we lost every time I went to see them, apart from once. I think we drew 1-1 with QPR.
Well, I actually remember in the 90s looking forward to playing you guys.
Yeah.
When it was like during your kind of Niall Quinn era, because we were quite successful and in actual fact quite successful in terms of scoring quite a lot of goals. Yeah. But in more recent years, you've been extremely successful in scoring a shed load of goals against us. So it's the universe comes roundabouts in its ways, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So
but it's going to be really interesting, and I think I can probably see this getting resolved. There's so many stories coming out. I'll put a couple of stuff up. I did put some effort in and copied these, so I thought I might as well put them up there. Let's have a look. These things have come out. You see today. This is in the Athletic. So Arsenal put a club record proposal, 75 million fee, 50 million add-ons, turned down. It sounds like it's turned down pretty quickly.
Yeah, very quickly.
You know, it's just taking the mick. And then this is David Anton, who is one of the few journalists that I actually respect because he knows a lot about what's going on at Arsenal. He's pretty spot on, and he's, you know, I think a few years ago we looked at or there was a report as to how many transfer information or dealings or speculation that the journalists got right, and we were looking at about 10%.
Yeah,
BBC had a lot higher, and David Ornstein had the best. So whenever he says, you know, especially with Arsenal, you think, yep, he knows what he's got that inside line. So he said, you know, City serious in recruiting Declan Rice. There's another one, I think, from Fabrizio. Is that Romano? I think this one.
Yeah.
And then City are going to be. There's no indication about money there, but the ones I saw, I've seen tweets. I mean, one of the problems is you don't know. People can just say anything they like because very rarely does someone come and say, actually, you're wrong. So, but I'd be surprised if Declan Rice goes for under 100 million. Now,
well, my understanding is that after the 2 low balls that Arsenal have given, West Ham have gone back and just gone, literally don't speak to us anymore unless you give us this or the following. And something else to take into consideration is that his family represent him.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you know this about his dad, but his dad's a massive Chelsea fan.
Yeah.
And he's a massive season ticket holder for Chelsea. So the rumor mill is that he has been in secret negotiations with Chelsea with the aim that he is desperate for them to push through a move. Now, I know their financial situation, but I don't think he'll go there. But I think he's definitely a family man, Declan Rice, 100% a family man. So his dad will be doing anything in his power to try and convince Deckers to go to Chelsea. But
if it was 2 years ago, I could see Declan Rice going, even at 22, and even though he loves West Ham, he was a Chelsea fan when he was a kid. I could have seen that happening. Now, with the turmoil Chelsea are in, you know, he's young enough to go there and wait for it to happen. But you know, if it was me, I don't want to wait for it to happen. I want it to happen. You know, let's have a quick look at what our mate Anthony Vickery says. The West Ham fan, hope he signs for you and your fans will appreciate him. He's a Rolls Royce player. Guardiola needs to work on his long shots, woeful, and not very good at pens either. Well, he's not going to take let's put it this way: he won't be taking penalties at City.
Well, he tried to become our penalty taker, and he very quickly relinquished that option. I disagree on the long shot thing though, because he's never really been encouraged to shoot.
Yeah,
but when he does shoot, he has scored a couple of crackers from us from distance. But it's everything else that he does on the field that is
I'm sure his numbers in the league this season. I thought he scored 4 goals in the league.
Yeah,
Rodri.
Yeah, but also though, when you look at his stats, what makes Declan Rice and say Polinia's from Fulham stats really exciting is that they played for West Ham and Fulham, so they gave top 5 performances in Europe for playing for Fulham and West Ham respectively. So that's what makes the idea, and the fact that Declan Rice has been doing it a lot longer than this Paulinho in the Premier League, who's Premier League proven, but he's also international proven as well.
Another thing that just popped in my head: if Arsenal had gone in there properly and said, now I know why they're worried that if they say we'll offer you 100 million because we're sure that's what you'll take, and West Ham come back and say, well, actually, we want 120. I can understand why Arsenal have gone in a bit lower, because they don't want their starting point to be what they want to pay, and then at West Ham still asking for more. But is it a possibility that if Arsenal said, West Ham, how much do you want? West Ham said 100 million. Arsenal said, here you are on day one. Do you think he could have been signed up and done before City even got a sniff of it?
I mean, our owner has clearly stated 120 million up front, or 100 million plus a player. So if you don't offer a player, then you're not going to get the deal done. So that's what he's clearly stated. So if he goes back on his word, that's going to make West Ham fans go fucking mental. He doesn't want that again. And we've seen what West Ham fans act like when we go mental. So they don't want that. He's clearly indicated this is the situation where it lies in. If no club bids that money, West Ham will sit on Declan Rice, and Declan Rice will not fall out with West Ham either. He's not that guy. Yeah. What Declan Rice will do is he'll stay and go next year for 50 or 60 mil.
Yeah,
but I still think he'll go. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, I think that FFP is an issue. Look, you've done well out of the Europa Conference League. I think you made a fair bit of money, probably.
A reasonable amount of money,
yeah. And that, I don't know what your situation. That might be enough. It might not.
No, I think we do. No, we definitely do. I was talking with our guy last night on the channel, and we've got a few players. There's talk of Skamaka. I would be disappointed if he left, but you're talking 30 odd million for him if he does go.
The problem is, Skamaka's been there, one season, 2 seasons?
1 season.
How much do you pay for him?
35.
You paid 35. And the contract, let's say he was on a 4 or 5 year contract?
Yeah.
So if he's on a 5 year contract, he's in the book for 28 million quid. If you get 30 million for him, you make a small profit. So it's not that 30, it's just that 2 million that will go in your books as a profit. Yeah. So that's why because Declan costs you nothing, he's going in as 100 million profit.
Yeah. And we've got a few of those, we've got a few other assets in the team. So there's rumors about Benrahma, all that sort of stuff going rife. We've got an aging squad as well, which is a bit of a concern. We went through a big transition last year. We're probably going to go through a huge transition this summer as well. Declan Moyes is on borrowed time, even though he won the trophy. He is on borrowed time. There's no point in beating about the bush. If he doesn't do well come December, he's gone. If he does do all right, then like you said in the summer, he's definitely gone 100%. Like he's only got 1 more year. But if he turns it round dramatically, then he's more than that. So we all know that. So it's just big transitions. We lost our owner this year. He died. That changed the whole dynamics of the club, the ownership, the percentage ownership. We have a billionaire shareholder. We have a minority shareholder who's a billionaire, who's billionaire in his own right, but he's married. His wife is a ridiculous billionaire that takes West Ham. If she and him decided to become majority shareholder, would catapult West Ham to levels of what other clubs like yourselves are on. So, but Kretinsky chooses to be a minor shareholder in every single business he runs. And there's a reason why he chooses that, because he is a multi-billionaire. So he chooses not to take on the full responsibility of every single one of the assets that he's got. So, so many changes. We could change ownership. We could change management. It could all happen very quickly, but everything's up in the air. But the one thing we're here to talk about, like you said, is Declan Rice, Man City. That's the best case scenario for us West Ham fans in England. If Declan Rice leaves to wear the Man City strip, he'll be clapped. He'll be welcomed back. He will not celebrate if he scores against West Ham.
Yeah.
He'll probably be torn about the whole decision. I don't doubt it for a second. I think Declan Rice is sitting there tonight going, yeah, of course. Who wouldn't want to move? But I love that club.
Yeah. Last thing, I don't know. It really is last one.
Sorry.
On the banter levels, if Declan Rice comes to City, what would the level of banter be between the Hammers fans and Arsenal fans? I've seen it already. I've seen it already when people expect him to go to City. They're laying into the Arsenal fans.
Yeah, it's just listen, I'm judging it on the basis of social media. So social media, there's been a lot of egos kicking about, and it's embarrassing. And yeah, it would be nice to get one over them and going, right, we're not selling to our London rivals. And I do see them, they're going to have to adjust the Champions League. That's a big adjustment for Arsenal as well. So I think there'll be an element of fear, because they're talking about potentially selling Partey to Saudi Arabia as well. And they do have pieces of the jigsaw. And it looks like they may miss out. If they don't get Declan Rice, they may miss out on Caicedo as well, because it looks like Chelsea are pushing for him. Yeah. So Chelsea are clever. You know, let's get him before anyone else gets him, and then Man City get him, and then what we're doing is pushing Arsenal further down the pecking order. So yeah, in terms of banter rights, I mean, I put a video on today on our Twitter account just for a bit of banter, just to see, you know, I don't usually do it, don't usually go fishing, but today it wound me up, and I was like, I'm going to go a little bit fishing, because I've seen some comments from Arsenal fans saying West Ham are this bit part club, and I felt like saying, oh my God, like, you're a soulless club, Arsenal. Like, don't you come to us and you know, you win a trophy, let's see how many people you put on the streets. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah. So, yeah. And I think that what I will say, my kind of point here is, we've heard through the grapevine that the West Ham squad, apart from a small minor amount, Mark Noble, who's obviously not a player anymore, but a sporting director, tried to warn the players that the volume of people, the players were absolutely gobsmacked, and they did not realize the size of the club. They didn't realize the size of the club. In terms of fan base, they didn't realize the size of the club.
There than City had for our parade.
I think there was. Yeah, I think it was.
But I think there's also a slight difference that obviously for us, it's been a regular occurrence. So, you know, for the older fans, I don't think it wears off. It doesn't wear off, you know, because you've had you think you're going to wake up one day and it was all a dream, or it's all over. Yeah. And when Pep goes, it will slide away a bit. So I think it's inevitable. Hey, mate, it's been a really interesting chat. I didn't think we'd.
No, you too.
I told a couple of mates. I said, "Come on, we'll only be on for 10 or 15 minutes." But one of them is sorry. No, it's all right. He lives in South Korea, so it's like, what time is it over there? So it's probably 4 o'clock in the morning. That's why he didn't come on. But I said it's only 10 or 15 minutes. It won't, spoil your night. But no worries, mate. It's been a good old chat.
Yeah. And if you do get Deckers, look after him for us, please, because he'll come back. He'll come back.
I'm sure we'll look after you, and I guarantee if he scores against you this season, he won't.
No, I wouldn't.
He won't. But in two or 3 years' time,
I don't think he would either. To be honest, I really don't.
It'll be a little bit of a.
It was like Carlos Tevez. It was like Tevez. You know, I remember when Tevez came to Upton Park, he gave us that. He gave all the fans the hammer sign.
Yeah.
He just had this affiliation with the fans. So yeah.
Cool, it's good. Thank you, mate. Thanks a lot for coming on. Thanks everybody for watching. If you want to subscribe to my channel, it'd be fantastic. And Anton, do you want to tell people about your channel?
Yeah, West Ham Network. We've been going for 5-6 years, but we actually collaborated with another channel called My Hammers 11. with Russ. So we've done that at about a year and a half ago. So now we're in the West Ham network, and it's we get a lot of ex-players on, and some of the celebrity fan base. So people will know that or might not know, but we've got quite a reasonable celebrity fan base of West Ham fans. So we get some of them on. Ben Shepherd, who currently presents GMTV or whatever it's called. Yeah. He's been on a couple of times recently as well. So yeah, good. If you ever want to come and see some West Ham chat, we do this probably similar stuff, previews, reviews. We do stuff at the games. We do match day stuff as well. So yeah, come check us out.
Yeah, fantastic, Anton. Yeah, guys, go and check Anton out and West Ham Network, and you can find them on Twitter, as I did, West Ham Network. Thanks a lot, guys. Take care, everybody. We'll see you around. I normally say see you around Blues, but I'll say see you around Claret and Blue. Take it easy, mate. Thanks a lot.
Cheers.